All right, we're live. Too many men on the mic. Thursday, 3 o'clock. Boy, we got a jam-packed show today. I'm super excited about. Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We'll let this kind of percolate, but the first half you definitely don't want to miss. And the second half is a mix of topics that I think are appropriate for this summer, don't you, Coach?
Yeah, I think summer is a prevailing theme here. As you can see, the nautical theme on the back wall. I am not in the studio this week. I'm on the road, kind of taking a little bit of my own advice and unplugging in the month of July from the game of hockey, but not fully unplugging as we've got the show. You'll also notice that we've got we're repping here on this side of the screen, little USA hockey, and that's obviously to speak to what I think is a huge moment for our show, hopefully a huge moment for the St. Louis youth hockey community and our inaugural contribution from USA Hockey that we're going to be joined, and we are joined by Bob Mancini. And if you are a youth hockey coach in this country and beyond, actually, Bob is a world-renowned youth hockey coach, player development expert, coaching development expert. You know who Bob is, and I'm just so excited that he's been gracious with his time, and that USA Hockey is, become a friend of the show and is going to be a monthly contributor. So this is going to be awesome for our show, but more important, it's going to be awesome for the coaches, players, and parents out there.
Well said. Just a friendly reminder that USA Hockey includes men's hockey. I am repping my men's hockey, the Spartans. That's what we call it.
Got a little letter on there too. Got a little cabbage on that sweater.
That's right, a little bit of cabbage. But no, pumped for getting started with Bob and working with his team and bringing great nuggets. I can't wait to hear what he talks about for the 25-26 season, his view on the landscape, and getting into the meat of it.
Yeah, rumor has it he's a big Bruce Springsteen fan as well, and so we may have to send him a little bit of our acoustic rendition of "I'm on Fire" with the Too Many Men on the Mic acoustic duo version, but that's unconfirmed, so we'll see.
Fantastic idea.
Well, I think now's a great time to bring on Bob and Grant, if you can. Let's bring on Bob. Hey, Bob, how are you? Great to see you.
Great to see you, Jared, Drew. I'm happy to be on. I'm going to have to ask you. I've been listening in. And Drew, especially, just going to have to talk up just a little bit. I'm in a, I'll tell you, and this is the fear that everybody should have when they have me on, because, you may only get one question, right? Because I'm going to speak for 19 minutes. But I'm up here in the north. I just left our player development camp in Buffalo, our Select 15s. And in order to get back home in Michigan now, I have to go through Canada. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're trying to interfere with this broadcast. Hockey Canada, I'm sure they're behind this. I'm absolutely positive that they're behind this.
Absolute enemy territory, especially if you're in Hamilton. Those Tiger fans in Hamilton are pretty vicious. So
that's right.
well, Bob, I think that's a great segue because you are a world traveler. You were in Europe earlier this year. You're doing so much in support of our great sport for this great country. And I think Drew and I firsthand can just, we've seen the impact over the last 10 years that we've been, I've dived into coaching and still playing. But if we look ahead to this year, what are you most excited for USA Hockey, for our players and coaches here in 25 and 26? Let's dive right in.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the start of a new season brings with all the joy and all the expectations that we all have, right? Adult players, youth players, coaches, officials, right? Every single avenue of our sport, every single portion of our hockey development department is excited for the season, right? Because it's a clean slate without, it's that fresh sheet of ice, and no one knows what's going to happen, but we all get reborn, right? There's a rebirth that happens every year. So, in general, I think that excitement is within us all, right? But if you got to go specific, I think on the coaching side, We're launching our first ever 6U, 8U clinics, age appropriate clinics, right? Which is a brand new direction for our coaching education program. And it's exciting for a number of reasons. One is we're moving closer to age appropriate clinics. So when we talk to our coaches who are coaching 6U, 8U, learn to play, learn to skate, are going to get a more focused experience. And that's really, really important. So that's probably one of the most exciting things we're doing. And because of that, the rest of our coaching education program will also become more age appropriate. So, you'll take your 6U, 8U level anytime you're coaching 8U and below, but you don't have to move up to level 1 anymore until you get to the 9U category or the 10U category, right? So the way our program works right now, it's very much focused on what should a 9U and 10U coach be focused on, be concentrating on. And now with the addition of 6U, 8U, it's going to move that progression of taking one clinic per year, and it's going to make more sense to our coaches. So from a coaching education standpoint, that's really exciting. I think, from a player development standpoint, we talk all the time, good coach development is good player development, right? You can't have good player development without good coach development. So, both those things go hand in hand. And then probably the other thing is, and we don't talk about it enough, is our officiating program. And I'm excited that this year, our officiating program, we're going to introduce follow-up clinics to make our young officials more aware on the ice, to make them more agile, more mobile, more coordinated, much like we do with our young players, because a lot of our officials are young, and we're going to give them more support. So we have follow-up clinics, we have skating clinics, we're going to have mentorship opportunities, and we're going to have shadow opportunities for our youngest officials. So I know you thought you asked me a short question, but there's so much for us that we're excited about going into this season.
Well, that is outstanding. I love the breakdown into 6U, Bob. I love the officiating focus. I have a son that's going off to college, and I have been encouraging him to become an official. So that is outstanding.
Which also encourages him to get off the Acre payroll as quickly as possible for those weekend expenditures.
That's exactly right. But a lot in there, Bob. What can the youth hockey organizations be doing, in your opinion, to help grow the game?
Well, it's a great question. And we've had some programming for years, right? We've had some of our initiation programs. We have things like that. We now have a wonderful goalie for free direction. We need to look at what can we do to make people feel comfortable when they come in the rink, right? What can we do to make the rink a more welcoming environment, right? When we're talking about hockey, and when you're talking about second and third generational hockey players, we know this stuff, right? We're not intimidated by coming to the rink. We have so many new families enjoying hockey for the first time, so many new generations of players enjoying hockey for the first time. I often think, what can we do to make that experience more comfortable? Are we welcoming these people? Do we have ambassadors, right? Are we teaching young, brand new parents, hey, let me help you put on the skates. Let me help you with the equipment, right? And then you look at goaltenders, right? That's overwhelming when we players want to become goaltenders, right? How many times have you seen goaltending of young goaltenders with parents who are new to the sport, not knowing which leg the leg pads go on?
Yep.
Right? So sometimes it can be the littlest thing that we can do to welcome new families into our game. And then, that pays dividends down the road so many times, because then they'll want to give back. And, I go back to that 6U, 8U thing I talked about. By having a separate clinic for 6U, 8U coaches, I believe we're going to get more parents involved. Parents who want to enjoy the journey with their son and daughter.
Absolutely.
And if we can get them to see how exciting it is to be part of that journey, I think they'll want to be level ones and they'll want to be level twos. They're not going to stop just at 6U and 8U.
You know,
I
it's
agree.
so true. 100%. And it's funny because there was one of my son's coaches was a non-hockey player. And yet, as I got to know him, and as he really just embraced the sport, you know, he won multiple our Blue Note Cup, you know, for our youth hockey championship at different age levels, and was just immersed himself in it. And you know, I thought to myself, if you could get a person who's never, you know, been around our sport or been playing our sport and was new to it because their son or daughter started to play, and they could become an evangelist. I love the fact that many of these you know, parents who start off as youth coaches kind of get voluntold, they become adult hockey players because they just love it so much, and that's what's going to help us grow this sport, you know, exponentially, I think. So
Yeah,
I love it. Oh, sorry, Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, just for reference, just to add on to that, this adult men's jersey I'm wearing, the team I'm on, we actually have 3 guys that got into hockey that had never played before, but they got into it because their son or daughter had been on a hockey team, and they made the effort to go out and learn how to skate and learn how to play. So it's contagious.
It is, and we never know what that's going to be, right? We never know what that spark's going to be. It could be parent to son or daughter, could be the other way around. You know, my dad never played hockey. He played street hockey in the courtyards and the schoolyards in Brooklyn. He tells me the story all the time. He's 92, God bless him, and he still talks about his time with a stickball stick. That was their hockey sticks, and a little Spalding ball in the courtyards in Brooklyn. But his love of the game got passed on to me. You know, you look at so many things, and I love that, the idea of a spark, because that's why what we do is so important. We don't know what it is, right? It's that NHL player who stops to sign an autograph. It's the college hockey player who has time to go out and get on the ice with a youth organization, right? It's God, we're so lucky to be involved in the sport we're in, because everybody can be that spark in some way. I really like that take.
I think it's that encapsulates everything and why we're doing this, Bob. And I can't thank you enough for saying that so eloquently. You know, let's focus on the players here for a second, because you know, you are assistant director for player development for USA Hockey, and one of the things we like to share with our players are different tidbits. Maybe not necessarily things that are on the ice, although habits and you know, making sure that you're physically prepared to play is huge. But what are some successful traits that successful or common traits that successful players seem to have in your experience that can set them apart from their peers?
You know, it's interesting because it goes right back to what we were talking about. The best players love the game. They love being at the rink. They love being in the locker room. You know, and too often we sometimes inadvertently drag that love away from them, or we squash that love, right? Because you know, I go back to, and you know, none of us, I don't think, are perfect parents, and I certainly wasn't. But I remember when my son was very young, and I didn't know enough of youth hockey, right? I was coaching at the highest levels, and at this time I was with the Edmonton Oilers. I was the director of player development, and I remember my son just getting into it, and all he wanted to do was go down and play. Dad, let's play. And I kept wanting him to learn how to shoot. Let me show you how to shoot. Let me show you how to pass. Let me do that. And 30 seconds, Dad, let's play. Right? He just wanted to play. And it hit me that that's really what was important then. And, you know, from that point on, and then I moved to USA Hockey, and I learned about age-appropriate training. And I tell you, the one thing, and yeah, I can give you some hints about, I had a parent come up to me and say, "Oh, my son loves the game. He goes to skating lessons 5 a.m. every day before school." The kid was 6. And I
Oh
asked the
no.
dad, I said, "So was it your son's idea? Did he call the rink and ask if he could get private lessons at 6, 8, right?" Like, "Oh, well, no,
Right.
I have to do that for him." Well, yeah, we find
Yeah.
ways to beat the love out of the game from our kids, right? Instead of finding a way to give them passion. And I remember, I go back to that story with my son, and it hit me. Oh my gosh, right? Just go play with him. Just go play, right? And then I heard Mike Boyle talk, and he talked about, uh, the what is it, the ADD, AHD Olympics, right? We learn when we have kids at a young age. When we go out to the backyard, the first time parent, you go out with a baseball and a glove and a bat. And then you realize 30 seconds in, now they want to go play basketball. And another 40 seconds, they want the soccer ball, right? And in a couple of weeks now, when you go out in the backyard and play with your son or daughter, you got everything. You got arms full of every piece of equipment you can. Well, it's the same thing
Yard
with
sale.
and it's the same thing. Like, we have to stop adultifying young kid hockey and putting what we think is fun onto the children. Instead, we need to ask the kids, we need to embrace them. And we need to see, like I say, a good, you're on the ice with 6 and on the players, you got kids over in the corner doing snow angels, right? And the difference between a good coach and a great coach at that age is the good coach goes over and says, "Whoa, that's a great snow angel." The great coach gets on the ice and starts doing snow angels with them, right? And this isn't probably where you wanted this to go, but
No, it's
I think
perfect.
fun, engagement, and passion. And how do we do that? And we do it with engaging practices. We do it with having the kids find the things that the kids want to do and then give it to them, right? The races, the tag games, the scrimmages, right? Because, mostly we let kids at a young age scrimmage. It's going to be a better practice than anything you or the 3 of us are going to draw up because they're engaged in it, right? We'll get to that stuff later. And so the season's starting. Let's keep it fun, right? Or a better word is, let's keep it engaged. Let's ask the kids what we want, and let's educate the parents that fun doesn't mean goofing off. Fun means, how do we find a way to engage the kids so when they get in the car, the first thing they say to mom and dad is, "I can't wait to go back to hockey." And if we've set up that environment, they will become better skaters, they'll become better stick handlers, they'll become better shooters, and they'll want to, no kid who quits the game. I've never seen a kid who quit the game at 10 become the best 11-year-old.
That's a good point.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob,
Right.
I love that you came up with an ism. Jared and I talk about isms, and yours is adultifying. I love that word.
Stealing my thunder. It's my show, Bob. You're stealing my shtick.
Yeah, but we're in July, and we're talking about what do you do in July and how does that translate towards the upcoming season. We're talking about how USA Hockey sees things, and I was going to ask a follow-on question. I think I know the answer though. Jared's question was I think specific around habits, and what I heard is just love. So last week we had 4 different kids call into the show to talk about invasive sports they play in the summer when they're not playing hockey. And so I have to believe that just doing something you love outside of hockey that is going to create some stop-start movement that's going to maybe ask you to accelerate and slow down and eye movement and things like that. Look, as long as you love it, that's going to translate back into the rink when you hop in. Is that fair to say?
Oh, 100%. Like, we often want to find, what's the best complementary sport? The best complementary sport's the ones your kid loves, because baseball is going to give him something that he's going to be able to transfer and become a better hockey player. Lacrosse is going to give him something different. Tennis is going to give him something different. riding the bike and jumping and all these things. It's going to give them something different. So instead of us telling the kid, you're going to play lacrosse because your hands are going to come better, or you're going to be a tennis player because I'm going to make you quicker, right?
Yeah.
How about what is it you want to do, right? And as players get older, you know, if everybody had a rink in their backyard instead of just a grassy field to play baseball, if everybody had a park down the block, you could just go skate instead of going to a rink and being structured, right? You know, if everybody had a hockey rink, like a ball field where you just show up and play, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because kids could go out to the rink every day in the backyard, go play,
Yep.
go play, and they would be getting better without it. And, you know, it too much hockey doesn't ruin players. What ruins players is too much coaching. We're in the middle of July. Let them go out and play 3-on-3 with their friends. They want to go to the rink and play 3-on-3. You know what? Drop them off. Let them go have fun and go have coffee, and stop staring at everything they're doing over the glass. You know, go, you know, you go do something. But, you know, oh, well, you know, no, they got to play 3-on-3 with the best players. They got to play 3-on-3 after an hour of skills, right? How about, you know, and I go back, I talk a lot about my son only because, like, I learned so much from all the mistakes I made. But how about the kid who plays, you know, competitive hockey, whether it's tier 2, whatever it is, right? It's all competitive. It's just a different level of skill maybe, but it's all competitive. How about the kid that says, hey, Dad, Mom, my buddies are going to play this Saturday for an hour in the morning. Can I go?
Yep.
Right?
That's the best.
And then the mom or dad says, well, you know, your buddies aren't as good as you. What if I drive you an hour and a half across town, because there's a really good skate happening then, right? And it doesn't make any sense, because what's driving him is, I never get to play with my schoolmates. I never get to play with the kids down the block.
Yep.
I'm going to go play with them because they're fun, right?
Yeah.
And there's no coach telling me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it changes as they get older, but we tend to put them into these boxes of high performance training at too young of an age. And we need to listen to the kids more, is what we need to do.
Well, I think that it's amazing how, if you ask a question and you get the answer, you know, that's the answer as a parent. Like, sometimes if the kid tells you, hey, this is what I want to do, you should probably believe them. That's what they want to go do, and go do it. And, you know, Bob, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We're incredibly grateful to be embarking on this journey here, and being able to have USA Hockey as a friend of the show and a monthly contributor. I know we've got some pretty cool ideas percolating as the season goes on. You know, before we let you go, and I know, you know, as you make your journey back to Michigan and probably back over the blue, are you going through Sarnia, or are you going through Detroit? Windsor or Sarnia?
Sarnia, going through Sarnia.
Over the Blue Water Bridge. So, but as you make your trip back there again, you know, one of the things we wanted to ask you is any good books for coaches like Drew and I to read. You know, one of the things that we talk about, coaches are thieves. We're always trying to get, you know, better, and we're taking ideas from other coaches. But any books out there that coaches like Drew, myself, and others that are listening can read, or that you've said, hey, that's a pretty good book to read.
Well, right now, I don't read Stanley coaches that I don't remember, and that's probably not what you're looking for. You know, I think any book that talks about how to coach is important, right? Joe Madden has a book out about his time as a manager in Major League Baseball, and talks a lot about relationships, right? Because that's really what's happening at the highest levels, you know, is these relationships. And the name of his book can't come to me quick enough. And I, you know, like I said, right now it's summer, so I'm literally reading Stanley Tucci, and I'm reading Anthony Bourdain, you know, and so maybe
I'm pretty hungry now.
Maybe the message is we need to turn it off and read some other books as well.
I was just gonna say that.
and what I'm going to do, Jared and Drew, is I'm going to promise you two things. If you ever have me on again, I'm going to promise you two things. The first is I will actually answer the questions you have instead of just going off and answering whichever ones. And I will clue you in on the next hockey book I open. I will let you know.
Awesome.
Well,
Bob,
excellent.
thanks
Well,
so much for your time.
Yep.
This has been great.
We'll end
Thank you both.
in honor of Anthony Bourdain. We'll end with a chef's kiss, and safe travels through Canada. And we'll be talking to you soon about our episode next month. So thank you, Bob, and enjoy the rest of your travel. Safe travels.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye-bye.
How cool.
I don't think I'm going to be able to wipe the smile off my face.
Right.
I mean,
how cool. He's a ninja hopping in at the airport. I just love that he is just driving the point home of fun. Keep it fun.
Yeah.
You got to make it fun.
And you know, I'm going to give you some credit because one of the things that you've been talking about for our show, and we'll give a little bit of teaser here for some episodes upcoming, is asking the kids what their favorite drills or their favorite games are in practice. And it seems so, I mean, you know what? Common sense is not always common. And so it's just you go to the kids.
You were
saving what they
saving
want
that.
to do.
You were saving that. There's your ism. I knew there was one coming. I think we're about at a point where we need to take a quick break. So I'm going to pivot over and talk about our great friends over at Big Bear Tournaments and talk about unforgettable youth hockey travel experiences. It's Big Bear Tournaments. Big Bear hosts spectacular tournaments in some of the coolest hockey towns across North America. This week, we're focusing on the Big Bear Summer Showcase, August 22nd through 24th in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Wheels of Fire in Chicago, September 19th through the 21st. Plan your next great hockey trip at bigbeartournaments.com, and don't forget to tell them Too Many Men sent you.
And we're back to Too Many Men on the Mic with Drew and Jared. You can find us on luinfo.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Before we get started here, I want to talk to the audience here a little bit about apparel. As you can see, Drew and I are wearing our Too Many Men on the Mic lids. And so that's courtesy of 5B Designs. St. Louis hockey families and business leaders, if you need custom gear that stands out and stands for something, it's time to meet 5B Designs. Founded by Shannon Berhini, a proud St. Louis mom and entrepreneur, 5B Designs is a woman-owned small business that brings purpose to custom apparel. Whether you're suiting up your youth or high school hockey team or leveling up your company's branded swag, 5B delivers top-notch quality with a personal touch. If you need team stores, no problem. Corporate polos or event giveaways, they've got you covered. 5B makes it easy with fast turnaround, flexible service, and designs your players or employees will love to wear. Check them out at stores.inksoft.com/5B Designs. That's 5, the word, FIVE, and see what purpose-driven apparel looks like. Well, I mean, I hate to go kind of Moby Dick, but like Bob Mancini's like the white whale of youth hockey for us tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That was to kick off what's going to be a hopefully a growing relationship with USA Hockey. And for those of you out there who may not know, I mean, Bob Mancini had a little bit of a humble brag when he was with the Edmonton Oilers. I loved it. He helped develop the American development model. And if you've been paying attention to the NHL over the last 15 years, the percentage of U.S. foreign players has gone from below 20% to over 30%. We're only outpaced by Canada. And, you know, I think within the next decade, because of the groundswell of youth hockey and really from the efforts of Bob and his team, that number is going to only get better and increase. And he's been so gracious. We're going to be talking with many members of his team over the year and hopefully bringing a lot of knowledge and insight to our listeners to help everybody get better at hockey.
Yeah, and what I'm going to be really interested to see when it rolls out is how the 6U certification ties into what we're just getting ready to talk about, which is landmarks and visual cues. And not everybody learns the same way. But one of the things that I love and have enjoyed in coaching with you is you're a big proponent of landmarks. And for visual learners, I think it's undersold. I think it's a great way. I mean, I've been playing hockey my whole life, and until you sit down with somebody and they talk about landmarks, then you start looking at them and going, oh, yeah, I know all of these things are here. But I've never thought of a landmark-based way of teaching. And so I'll be interested to see if what we're talking about with landmarks is really inside some of that 6U training. Be fascinating to hear. But you're a supporter of landmarks. How do you like to introduce landmarks when you're out working with kids?
Well, I think the first landmarks that I like to use, and they're probably the most important on the ice, are the red lines, blue lines, and goal lines. So those lines, because they're all going in the same direction, and they break the ice up into equal parts, offensive zone, neutral zone, defensive zone. And you have to know because hockey's played within those zones. Very rarely, especially at the youth levels and at 6U and 8U, because of the cross ice aspect of that game.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, but 10U, you're very rarely making a play that spans more than a zone. Most of the time, if you're trying to make a long pass, a 40-foot, 50-foot, 60-foot pass, it's either not going to make, it's going to get intercepted. And so using those zones to teach spatial awareness, whether you're playing defense and trying to get the puck, from your opponent inside your defensive zone, whether you're playing offense and you're trying to use the area and really position yourself and your teammates, especially if you don't have the puck, knowing where to be within that zone. Those are really the first landmarks that I like to use. And I use it as such as, like, if you're carrying the puck, you have to make a decision before you get to any one of those lines. You can't stop. You can't try and stick handle, because especially as you get older and you get out of 6U and 8U, offsides enters into the play, or turnovers at your own blue line. It's really helping people understand where they are, or helping kids understand where they are on the ice, and helping them make better decisions. As they try to go and score a goal.
Yeah, I think it's 6U and 8U. To your point, the cross ice nature of it. One of the elements that I feel like historically has been taught at those levels is the house and protecting the house.
Yep.
Protecting the house if you're playing defense, getting to the net, or what some might call net drive if you're playing offense. But the house, whether you're protecting the house on defense or driving the net on offense, sits between the dots. And so I've heard a lot of coaches say before, protect the dots, attack the dots. So what's your interpretation of attacking the dots and protecting the dots, and how that hooks into really the house concept at 6U and 8U?
Yeah, and for people who maybe don't quite understand, we're talking about the face-off dots. So there's 9 face-off dots on a sheet of ice. 4 of them are in a line, on each side, and then you've got the center ice dot. Well, if you take those dots and they're all lined up in a row on the left side and the right side of the ice, there's these little alleys between the boards and the dots. And if you're defending the dots, you want to keep your opponent or the players who have the puck and are trying to score on your net between the boards and those dots. And we talk about, knowing where you are as a defenseman, defending with your feet. What that means is you're continuing to skate. You're continuing to, you don't necessarily have to be physical with a player, especially at the 10U level where you're not body checking, or the 12U level, you're skating and shadowing. You're angling those players into the boards and keeping them between the dots and the boards, the outsides. That's defending the dots. Attacking the dots, just the opposite. If you're an offensive player, you want to get that puck into the zone. And if you don't have the puck, if you're a supporting player, and this is where a concept of support comes into play, you want to be attacking those dots, keeping your feet moving, making those defensemen turn their heads, taking the eyes away from the goalie. If the goalie's watching the puck carrier, but you've got a person who's cutting across the house and cutting across the dots and attacking those dots, that goalie invariably might turn their head, and that's going to open up either a shot from the player with the puck or an opportunity for you to get open on a back door or high slot, or a continual motion around that area and attacking those dots. Don't stay to the outside if you're on offense. Cross, get it, attack the dots. And so that's, people think of those dots as just where faceoffs occur, and that's true. And there's a whole other aspect of the game that we'll probably talk about. But if you just drew a straight line down the dots and you kept the players to the outside, or you wanted to get inside that line if you're on the offensive side, that's attacking and protecting the dots.
Well said. Well said. Well, back to Bob real quick. He talked about, USA's hockey view of what's coming up, things that they can do to get ready for the year. It sounds like some new programming, some new ref education and support. Let's talk a little bit about what youth hockey organizations can be doing on their own for the upcoming year. We're in the middle of July, and just I can remember our years together working on a youth hockey board. I felt like middle of July was let's get the ball rolling with continuing education. Let's make sure our coaches are getting the certifications. They're doing their safe sport. Because ultimately we might be going to a tournament where we might need a certified roster, maybe as early as the end of August, which, believe it or not, is like 6 weeks away. It's kind of scary. But, think about your registrars, think about what you can be doing as a youth hockey organization, maybe to make life a little bit easier for some of those folks, because there's a lot of work in just being a registrar and getting certified rosters and hurting coaches.
Yeah, I mean, every player and coach has to have their USA hockey number, and I think the key to this is your USA hockey number. If you're a coach, is not your coaching continuing education number, not your CEP number. They're two different. That number, your coaching number, your CEP number stays with you for life. Your USA hockey number, you got to get that registered every year. The biggest thing, and I take this very personally, having serving on that board with you for so many years and managing our safe sport and some of our supporting of our players and coaches who had issues along those lines. You got to get the safe sport done, and I know that we live in a time where time is very precious and valuable. And I think the sooner that our organizations can begin a campaign to get players, coaches, managers, and to some degree, I think even parents aware of the safe sport process and making sure that they understand that, hey, you're going to need to carve out, 40 minutes to an hour and a half to do this because of because of how important it is and the components of this education. That's got to be done right away. And I know we all get emails, but organizations can help augment those emails by having a really clear strategy to help folks get it done, help and be there to answer the questions.
Yeah, I think about the next 2 or 3 weeks. For a lot of coaches out there, this is a golden time to look at getting that knocked out so that when August rolls around and things like pre-skates, if you're an organization, just realize not everybody, as we've said on this show, is playing hockey year round. A lot of kids play other sports. Some kids haven't touched the ice potentially in 2 months. So if you don't have a pre-skate or you're not planning on a pre-skate, consider it just to get kids back in the wheelhouse and back on the bike again, and then positioning them for tryouts should you be holding tryouts in August or September. But all things that can be done right now. I know July is precious time. You're on vacation. I was on vacation earlier this month, and so personal time's important, but where you can steal some minutes, it's a good time to knock those things out here the next 2-3 weeks.
Well, and it's worth mentioning to coaches. I know that there have been some changes to the modules that you have to do. there was U13, there was U10, there was U12 modules that had to be completed, and sometimes there was like an augmented coaching module that they introduced a couple years ago, and it was difficult to find. Well, USA Hockey has revamped the coaching site. It's a lot more user friendly, but from an organization standpoint, our admins, our directors of hockey, our assistant directors of hockey, the folks out there who are registrars who are helping to support their local clubs, become experts in that so that you can very patiently and graciously answer those questions, because they're going to come, because you're going to realize that these volunteer parents who are coaches, managers, supporting our teams, they're not as invested, daily, weekly, monthly as some of us are, and that's okay. We need that. So there's been some great advancements on the portal for coaches, and it's just important for our organizations. To what Bob said earlier, we talk about being a welcome committee at the rink. Be a welcome committee to your coaches and your managers and your parents as changes and enhancements happen on the paperwork front and on the certification front.
Well said. Hey, you're on vacation. You're out of town.
Yeah.
We're in July, and it's the perfect kind of time to talk about kind of recharging. How many times have you talked about hockey since you've been on vacation with your kids?
Not much. We've talked about some news that came down from the NHL because they're interested in that. But we've been talking about we're right now we're in Oak Island, North Carolina. Shout out to the Atlantic Ocean because it's huge. And we've been talking about getting up and going out and body surfing and playing cornhole on the beach, and where are we going to go to dinner. And it's been great. I'm taking our own advice here. We were at the lake early in July. We're at the ocean here in July, and we've just talked about hockey in passages because we love hockey, but the majority has been spending time with family, recharging, and enjoying this time off. It's been great.
Yeah, and how do you think that helps you and your family as August rolls around and everything kind of starts back over, and you're thinking about what team you're going to be playing on, or maybe what team you're going to be playing on, but you're starting to look at the calendar and saying who's going to drive where, or carpools or pickups. How does this time help you as you roll into the season?
Well, it recharges. I think I've got two boys that play. I coach potentially multiple teams, and my wife is she's up to it into her neck, and we love it. Like, don't get me wrong, we absolutely love it. The travel, the in and out and back and forth to different rinks, but it is stressful. Not stressful in a bad way, but it's just stressful because you're in constant motion. There's decision making. You're going places, and being able to almost restart as that season comes around. I know not everybody does that. I wish they did, and I would always advise take some time away. In whatever you do, it's not just hockey, but it's our jobs. It's just the things that we do on a daily basis. It's a change of scenery. It's important for everybody's mental health.
I agree. Well, we've got a couple of perspectives that I think are trying to be shared on that from other folks. We have somebody on right now, but for some reason they're not coming through. So I don't know if producer Grant can help us with that, but we have a call in that somebody is sharing what they do for the summer and where they spend time as a family and how that helps them headed into next year. So we'll let producer Grant do his work here and see if he can pull him in.
Yeah. While we're waiting on that, I mean, I think you've been in a couple places, and obviously Colorado, but your Father's Day weekend, I think, is a perfect example of how you basically, you took your boys out and said, "Hey, here's what we're doing," and it was fishing.
It was fishing.
It was fishing and camping.
It was fishing, and I tell you what, there is very few things that are more peaceful than fishing. if you enjoy fishing, I should say, you definitely have to have patience, but there is nothing like being out in the river, being on the ocean where you are now, and just enjoying the day, being outside, being one with nature. And so our boys got to go down to the river, and we took our fishing poles, and we did talk hockey, but it was fun hockey. Kind of like what Bob was saying about, play 3-on-3 and play with your buddies. In this case, it was buddies sitting around talking about, would you trade this player and this player and this player for this player over here? And so then you had a lot of, I'd never do that. Or what if we did this instead? So that was about the most hockey we talked when we were down there. But like you're in hotels, you're on the road, you're driving, you might be flying, depending on how far you're traveling, if you're going to an out-of-town tournament. And so just being able to have those moments together as a family is great. Put pause, laugh about fictitious trades that somebody may or may not make. And that's about as serious as we get. And then I think that helps us as a family kind of recharge and regroup and get ready for when August rolls around to get back on the horse and go again.
Awesome. Well, I think Grant has our first caller. They figured out some technical aspects. So, Grant, if I'm reading this correctly, we've got a gentleman by the name of Shawn who would like to share some of the things he and his family do. Shawn O'Shaughnessy.
Oh, there he is.
Look at that guy. He looks very dignified in that. It's almost like the Godfather.
You look dapper. You look dapper.
Yes.
It's a Tuesday, right? I was actually cleaning out my closet because of this, and I pulled up some archives. That's the pyramid right there.
St. Peter's. All right. Well, I do have to rep St. Peter's on one of our shows, but I'll have to come to you for that gear. So Shawn.
Yep.
Shawn O'Shaughnessy, a fellow coach, a fellow board member, a parent. Tell us a little bit about what the O'Shaughnessy family does to get away, not just from hockey, but just decompress. And how do you leverage the month of July?
Yep. I mostly stay home and they leave is usually the way it works out. But we end up doing. I've got one that just started in college. We just dropped her off last week. I've got a 15-year-old who you guys know, and then I've got a soon-to-be 8th grader. We do a lot of mini trips. Head down. We were in Omaha for college. Now we're going to go down to Florida, then up to New York City for a few days. I'm sure we'll go to Chicago, see some more relatives and whatnot. But you guys were talking earlier about how much you talk about hockey when you do stuff. So with 2 girls and my son's the only one that plays hockey. And you guys will, since you know him, find it hard to believe, but he literally does not watch hockey. We haven't been to a Blues game in 4 or 5 years. He doesn't ask. He doesn't even know who's on the roster. He just plays the game. So it's very now as he's gotten older, he wants to do it more and more. But from a young age, we just threw everything at him. Music, sports, all the kids, and they took over. But Connor, he has gotten back into golf right now.
Yeah.
He actually goes up every night at 7 p.m. We have a little 9-hole course by our house. You can get on for free.
Tell him to take Shawn.
Nice.
Yeah, and for some reason when I pick them up, they never have shirts on, but that's a whole other issue I got to deal with. But
so is Connor does he top the ball? Because I find that golf is the hockey player's curse, right? They teach you in hockey to keep your head up. In golf, they teach you to keep your head down. Does he top the ball a lot like me, or is he just an athlete and crushes all sports?
I haven't played with him in 2 years, but as you probably know, if you ask him, he was the course record every night. So, but he barely hits the fairway. If he barely hits the fairway, which is usual because he never hits the net when he shoots. But then he actually just about 4 days ago decided he's probably going to try soccer again for the high school. He hasn't played.
Hey, Shawn, no criticism on missing the net. He's just trying to get it in deep.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's just sending a message like a high one in baseball pitching. But but no, it just all different activities. It's easier for him because he doesn't, like I said, doesn't really follow the NHL. It's kind of funny in a way as much as he plays. So he's had the skates off for probably a couple weeks, and it may be a little bit longer. Just so you know, he did soccer for the high school last night. Of course, first game, got a slight concussion. So he's going to be out for a few more skates, but we'll see what happens. But we've got so much going on, but it's honestly, he'll put the skates on. He had a club tryout, did that. I would say the high school, the JV team's pretty demanding on ice time. So that probably dominates most of our life. It's kind of like they book a lot of stuff during the day, everything. But that's about it though. It's all different activities, a lot of mini trips though. And just kind of, like I said, there's really no hockey talk in our house actually during the season too. It's kind of odd, but that's just, I think, because we threw everything at them growing up, and they took the
well. And with two girls, you got to pick your windows, right? So especially two girls that don't play, you got to pick your windows on when you want to talk about those things.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, next time I see Connor, I'm gonna ask him how he shot and what the latest course record is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wheels up last second, says, "Where's the first tee? What's the course record?"
Shawn, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, man.
You got it, guys.
Thanks,
Go
John.
St. Peter.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Shawn.
You knew
that's a whole other topic, other show.
You knew he was going to be pushing St. Peter's. I loved it. He was so
on point. I love him. Well, and shout out St. Peter's. Give me a jersey to wear on the show, folks. And we'll get some folks from St. Peter's on the show here this season as well. So
yeah.
Looks like we've got Jon Miller. Jon Miller.
Hello there.
John.
What's happening, boys?
Hey, Johnny.
Up? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for hopping on.
No
John
problem.
is out of Chicago. He's got a 15U, right?
Yeah, he'll be 15 next week, actually.
So we're talking about how busy hockey season is, and you are well aware of that, and where you can find time to kind of recharge your batteries, which really is around this time. I really feel like it's July for a lot of people. And so what do you do as a family to kind of recharge your batteries headed into August and everything's starting over for hockey?
Yeah, I until you brought it up, I didn't really know that hockey ever ended. It just kind of seems like it just goes and goes. And I didn't play hockey growing up, so it's been a very kind but rude awakening in some ways. Just the amount of time that it gets that you have to devote to it. I'll say from a personal perspective, I kind of go a little stir crazy when there isn't something going on. I've been trying to really kind of pull back on that. It's not me playing, it's him. So during the summer, and this has been the first summer that we've really not had a whole lot going on in June and July, because he's always also played baseball. So I'm, and playing some travel ball and whatnot. So, when hockey ends, and then spring hockey, and then fall ball or spring baseball, and then summer ball, it really doesn't. So this was kind of the first summer that we've had to not have a whole lot going on. So, like Shawn was saying, we're doing a couple of small little trips. We've been down to St. Louis a little bit. We're heading down to the Smoky Mountains next week for a week, and up to Louisville. Really, my wife and I have kind of let him kind of dictate what he wants to do with his time, which has been a lot of Xbox and sleeping all day. Which
you just slide the food under the door.
Maybe it'll come out. Maybe maybe
it's like Howard Hughes there.
Yeah, exactly.
Our younger guys won't understand that reference. Go look it up, Howard Hughes. Worth a Google.
Yeah, but no, it's been a good summer. He's been working a little bit at the rink, doing some working some youth camps, and kind of facilitating their 3v3 scrimmages, and then he's been skating with actually like a 20U 3v3 4v4 league on Saturday mornings, just to kind of keep him active and keep him live and keeping him somewhat in touch with the game. But other than that, there's been very little pressure to get him out to do stuff, and we try to do things as a family like you guys had mentioned, but as you were well aware, with 15-year-old boys, they don't really know that anyone exists, but it's all right, it's fine.
Well, somewhere right now, Bob Mancini's smiling because Bob talked earlier about 3-on-3 and 4-on-4. So that's great that Slay's involved in that. That sounds like something fun to do.
Yeah,
John, thanks
yeah.
for hopping on with us. Always good talking with you.
Absolutely.
And
Good to see you, John.
we'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, very good.
Tell your friends to tune in on Spotify, wherever they get their podcasts.
For sure. Have a good one.
See you, John.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Well, I mean, we're getting close to closing time here. It feels like heck of a show.
Yeah, I mean, Bob just exudes fun. What a great leader for that organization. And I can just hear him, or I can just hear him say to a coach on the ice, stop trying to coach so much, do something that's fun. I can't wait to hear what some of these kids that we talk to in the fall tell us their favorite drills are, because I think we're going to build practice plans around those kinds of things and consider them, because you got to bring fun into your practice. So looking forward to it. But let's put a bow on this baby, and we'll see the group next week.
Yeah, be sure to tune in next week. I think we're going to be having a local youth organization director to talk a little bit more about how they're overcoming some challenges for their success. We may have a pretty exciting announcement to share with everybody. And also, as far as USA Hockey goes, we will be broadcasting in August. At least I will be, and you're still to be determined, live at the Level 5 Coaching Symposium in Columbus, Ohio. Super excited for that. Bob and his team are going to be there, and we're going to try and line up some interviews for that show as well. So again, thank you to everybody listening. If you're sticking around, be sure to listen in to Kelly and Gordon on the In Your City show. And man, great show, Drew. And grateful to our audience and grateful to everybody else. Grateful to Bob Mancini and USA Hockey.
Thanks everybody for listening. See you next week.
Take care, all. Have a good one.